I don't often visit my parents. I try to avoid going there, because I really can't stand the incessant questions about my personal life. But they are family, and I try not to alienate them from my life completely. So once every few months, I'll indulge them by visiting. They live only an hour's drive away, and most often I go with my girlfriend because she loves spending time with my mother. Shocking for most people, I know. Last weekend, however, my girlfriend had been busy with work and I had already made a promise to my mother that I'd visit soon. I have a Doberman named Luna, and I didn't want to leave her alone at home, so I packed her into my car for the road trip. I'd figured she'd make a good companion for the hour of driving, and I could take her for a walk in the park once we arrived. I started the journey, and just halfway through, I saw a roadblock ahead. I picked up my phone and turned on the GPS, which rerouted me from the highway onto a road, which would go into an arc around the roadblock and go right back on the path which I was supposed to take. It said my trip would be around 20 minutes longer that way. Since I had no other choice, I decided to follow the prompt and got off the highway and onto the old, badly maintained road. It was around 2 p.m., so it was still pretty visible, but the weather had started to deteriorate, so adding the bad road to the rain, I had to slow down significantly. The road led between rows of crops until they cleared away and I was faced with industrial buildings far in front, which were part of a town ahead. I checked my GPS and realized that I was still on the right path, however, there was no indication anywhere that I would be going through a town. I shrugged it off and continued driving nonetheless. It was at this point that Luna started barking furiously at something in front. I checked the windshield to see if there were any bugs on there, and when I saw nothing, I squinted towards the town. There didn't seem to be anything suspicious there, so I simply petted her, trying to calm her down. She kept spinning in circles though, clearly agitated by something. Attributing her behavior to the bad weather, I went on and entered the town. After only a few blocks, I saw another roadblock in the middle of the street. Checking the GPS, I realized that it wasn't aware of it, and instead continued telling me to go forward. I turned left and tried one of the adjacent streets, but it was blocked too. I continued driving, looking for a way through, but all the streets leading in that direction were blocked. I checked the GPS again, but no dice. I was in front of a dental office by this point, so I figured I'd go inside and ask someone there for directions. Luna started barking again, but I told her to calm down and left her inside the car. I went inside the dental office and saw 2 people inside, the receptionist and a janitor. Hi, sorry to bother you, I'm kind of lost. I approached the reception. The lady outright ignored me, continuing to type something on her computer. I waited for a moment, thinking she was in the middle of something and would respond soon. After around 10 seconds of waiting, I repeated, Hey, excuse me? I have a question. She continued typing on her computer, completely ignoring me. I turned to the janitor, who was kneeling in front of a chair nearby and fixing it. Sir, do you know how I can get out? All the roads I checked are blocked. Like the lady, the janitor didn't even glance in my direction. Sir? Can you hear me? I said a little louder. The janitor made no response. I thought to myself that people here are extremely rude and went to simply use their bathroom, deciding I would try asking elsewhere. As I finished my business in the bathroom, I went back to the reception and pulled out my car keys out of my pocket. A coin got dragged out of my pocket along with the keys and fell on the floor with a loud clink. Immediately, the reception lady and the janitor jerked their heads in my direction. They had stopped doing their business and were now staring at me with unblinking gazes. I froze, not sure how to react, and then they both stood up at the same time, not breaking their gazes. They started taking steady steps towards me, the janitor going around the chair and the reception lady around the desk. They didn't even stumble or run into any objects, despite the room being cluttered with a plethora of items. It was as if they knew exactly where to step, despite having their gazes fixed on me. I freaked out and ran up the stairs, which were right next to me. I shut the door and ran through the hallway, opening the next closest one, bursting inside the dental room. As soon as I stepped in, the dentist, which had been working on a patient, and the patient himself with dental cotton in his mouth, shot their heads in my direction, staring like the 2 people below. The dentist straightened his back and the patient stood up and they both started striding towards me, never blinking and never breaking their gazes. I screamed and ran back outside and saw the janitor and reception lady no longer taking slow and deliberate steps, but actively running after me, their faces contorted in anger. I shoved the janitor and he stumbled backward onto the reception lady. I used that chance to run down the stairs and back outside on the street. It was pouring by now and I saw more people in the distance, running in my direction, with the same intense stares. What scared me the most was the way their facial expressions were. Their mouths were firmly shut and their eyes seemed angry and hateful. But they all silently ran towards me, not a single one of them uttering a word. I heard Luna's muffled barking from the car and I ran in, fumbling for my keys. I put the keys in the ignition with trembling hands and turned them. The engine roared to life and I floored it, grazing one elderly man by his arm. I went right back the way I came and drove out of that cursed town, intermittently glancing from the road to the rearview mirror, keeping an eye on the herd of people running after me. And then I heard a loud bang. My rear windshield broke. Luna started barking even more viciously, and when I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw one police officer pointing a gun towards the car. More bangs ensued and I ducked down, holding Luna down as I did so. There were a few more bangs that echoed in the distance and then they stopped. I drove in a ducked position like that for a minute or so, before checking on Luna if she was hurt, but luckily she wasn't. I looked in the rearview mirror again. The town was pretty far away, but I saw the townsfolk, probably hundreds of them, just standing in the street and staring in my direction. I turned off my GPS and drove right back home. I apologized to my parents and told them I had some car problems, promising them I would visit them sometime in the future. On my way back, the people who saw my shot-up car gave me weird glances, and a police officer who pulled me over didn't seem to believe my story, but let me off with a warning after a thorough check. I haven't gone out of town since then, and I think that from now on, if the GPS reroutes me through any unfamiliar roads, I will ignore it and turn right back around.